Here we are in Beit She'an with the ancient Older Testament tell, dominated by Egyptians, Hittites, amazing discoveries up on top. It is the Bronze Age that we see these types of walls being reconstructed and fortified for providing safety. In the later Greco Roman period, which you see down below, with this beautiful basalt stone complemented by the limestone, we can see just an amazing growth of prosperity, of security. And the walls of the Byzantine city of Scythopolis, as it's then known, rivals any of the other larger cities in the entire area. It is a major thoroughfare for trade, coming through the Jezreel Valley, through the En-Harod Valley, coming over to the Jordan River Valley. And so this was an easier way to travel. Chariots could move through here, trade, economics. Beit She'an was such a tough place for Jewish people in some ways because they had to pay tithes and taxes, that the Talmud talks about how they just nixed the tithing in this area because they couldn't compete with the local Greco Roman merchants. So a very interesting place where a lot of economic growth is going on. And we can see the snapshot of one of the grandest of all the cities from the Greco Roman period. Here we can see the straight street going directly up to the Tell, a massive bathhouse complex, largest in the country that we can see. A peristyled structure, a palaestra, where people could work out and do exercises. We're reminded of Paul, saying, I have run the good race, and this jogging and sprinting that would take place. Roman culture at its height and dominating the whole area, right? A church is planted in the middle of pagan temples on either side, here at the corner, right by the Baker's Junction, there we can see. And one of the best preserved of the theaters in the Roman and Byzantine period. Let's go check it out. This place is truly amazing in its preservation. Since the excavations that started back here in the 1960s, they pushed forward even with bulldozers because they knew at certain levels there would be nothing of much interest, and they discovered more easily, and sometimes critiqued by different scholars not carefully enough, they discovered this amazing city, including one of the largest theaters here in Israel, with a skeva that's partially reconstructed, the beautiful theater that's been reconstructed with wood. We can imagine many play actors, sometimes lewd and sometimes bringing in a certain kind of culture that the Jewish culture didn't like. In fact, it says in the Talmud that Jews were not allowed to go to the theater because of what was taking place. And so it's striking that Jesus uses this exact same language of play actors to describe the Pharisees. Jesus says, you guys are like the play actors themselves. You're creating this mess by looking like you're religious and aren't really. So here at Beit She'an, Scythopolis, home of Cyril, the great monk who wrote about the history of monasteries and monasticism in Palestine at the time, we are just overwhelmed by the beauty and how it brings us back to the Greco-Roman period, reminding us also of the Decapolis. This is one of the 10 cities where they were independent city-states. That connects us back to Mark chapter 5 and the preaching of the former demoniac, of the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, which Jesus says, go and tell, because it's not a Jewish area. They're not concerned about the Messiah and overcoming Rome. And so the demoniac does just that, and it's probably somewhere in this city, proclaiming what God has done for him. May that be so for us in the midst of culture wars, challenges. Let us overcome the power of the Spirit to tell what God has done for us in proclaiming and giving glory to God. Thanks be to God. Here in Beit She'an, Scythopolis, the land is our classroom. The Bible is our guide. Let's explore together.